is Ashley Byer, and I am a senior sales engineer here at Decisions. Today, I'm going to go ahead and take you through the advanced flow concepts. Some of the things that we're going to be reviewing today is going to go ahead and help assist you in building out some of your workflow processes. These are designed to go ahead and automate the processes, help you go ahead and connect different steps, both see them in parallel as well as what we've been doing sequentially. Go ahead and be able to take in data and the output data there. And then we're also going to go ahead and see the debugging view and incrementally for the testing. There's 4 components I'm going to cover today. We're going to go ahead and look at the for each step. The branch and merge, I go ahead and put into kind of one category. We're also going to go ahead and look at the async flows or subflows, as well as caching too. I want to go ahead and start off with our for each step. Now, the inputs of this step is going to go ahead and be usually your data types. When we're going through something like a CSV file or an Excel file, we've got multiple lines or multiple rows of data. So what we normally do is we'll go ahead and say, hey, for each row of this data inside of this big old form, let's go ahead and read and maybe save off to a data structure there. What happens for the outputs is we'll actually see the outputs come as an item and an item index. Best practices, I always recommend to go ahead and rename your outputs. However, we'll also be able to see this here in just a few minutes as well too. The next is going to be our branch and merge step. Now, we've been working through flow processes as sequential steps. However, decisions can also run these parallel too, meaning we can go ahead and branch off our pathways and have maybe 2 different form assignments coming out of the output. And what happens is both assignments maybe have to be done and completed before moving on to the next step. This allows decisions to be very flexible and go ahead and fit around multiple different types of use cases too. That kind of leads me into this next one. The asynchronization flows allow us to go ahead and start linking flows and allow process to be done and completed all at the same time. So going back to my example earlier of that CSV document or Excel document, where we might have multiple lines of data coming through. And maybe for each line of that data, we actually have to put it inside of a form, have it be manager approved, and then go off to the client. Well, if we've got multiple of those forms that may be approved by a manager, we might want it to happen basically all at the same time. So if one gets caught up and needs a little bit extra work, it's not going to go ahead and halt the progress of the rest of the data points there. We'll also see maybe asynchronization flows when we're looking at error handling too. Now, this next one here is a little bit different. So when we see caching, I want you to think about lazily loading. What happens is instead of going ahead and retrieving thousands and thousands of inputs from a data structure or information, we can actually go ahead and basically lazily load it off to the caching here and then call it further down the flow. So this allows us to start retrieving that information faster. We'll also see this if we have a whole bunch of rules that are taken in at once. Maybe we want that rule to be basically continuously running. We'll also see caching there as well. So I want to now go ahead and take a pause here. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're actually going to go ahead and go into V8 for Decision Studio now. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a few different examples inside of Decision Studio. So what we're going to take a look at is, first off, I wanted to go ahead and show you that for each step. That's what we started with at the beginning of this video. I have done a few other examples and training videos with a CSV and Excel handling. So when I was doing those, I was able to go ahead and bring in a for each step here, which allowed me to go ahead and load the information from that CSV over into the for each step here. And we'll see that we've got the outputs or the inputs coming from this guy right here. We're saying for each one of those line items inside the CSV, we're going to go ahead and take it through and do another process. Well, this process was going ahead and making new accounts inside decisions. Out of our inputs here, we see that we've got that item and that item index. For creating my new accounts, I actually went ahead and expanded my account so I could go ahead and enter in the email address, first name, last name, you know, the good stuff. And then I'm pulling it from the item itself and digging down inside of the item for the email address, as well as first name and last name. What that looks like is if I go ahead and press edit here and kind of take us all the way back, we're going to go ahead and go to the item right here. And then we'll be able to go ahead and see that we should have email, address, as well as down below, we'll see that we've got first name and last name too. Now, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually go into an environment I have pre-built out for us to go ahead and demonstrate the branch and merge. And when we do so, you'll notice that these things can happen in parallel. So we had a form initially come through. Maybe a client was on a landing page, they entered in a little bit of information, and then we needed a few different processes to happen all at once before going over to the next form here. And we needed these guys to go ahead and kind of fly by and get done as soon as possible. So we had all three of these processes happen in parallel. This is our branch step right here. And you'll notice that it's ready for me to go ahead and open a new path for path 4 if I really wanted to. And as I go ahead and connect it to a step or a form right here, you'll notice that we have the option to go ahead and do another path as well. So that was path 5 that came up. I need to go ahead and connect each one of these steps to my merge now, which we'll see right here. And we can go ahead and merge it back together, taking all that data and information to where we can go ahead and input the next line of our mapping into this form right here. Now this allows us again to go ahead and run all these in parallel. What happens is if any one of these has a form inside of them, we actually need the path to go ahead and connect to this merge before the merge will go ahead and send out the data for the rest of the process. Now, inside decisions, the next thing that we have is our asynchronization flow. And inside decisions, we're able to do that a few different ways. One of the ways you will see this is if I actually come to the subflow right here that I've got, and I come to advanced, we can actually run this as async and wait. What that means is we can have all this information come through at the same time, but then it has to wait when it's merged back again. Now, another way to do this is if I go ahead and come over to my toolbar here, I'm going to go ahead and type in async, and we'll see start linked flow async. I drag and drop this over to the screen, and this is automatically going to have this process inside of here run for every piece of information that goes through. Meaning, if we are in line together, and I am number 1 in line, but you're number 2 in line, I got a grocery store. I've got 2 cartfuls worth of groceries, and there's a cashier in front of us. It's basically like having the process start. I might start getting my groceries done, and at the same time, you are also able to get your groceries checked out too. What happens is I might take it a little bit longer. Maybe I need a manager to go ahead and override a few things versus you're able to go ahead and get out to your car before I even get my receipt back and I may be able to pay for my groceries. This is a regular subflow. The only thing that changes is that async path, meaning we don't need the first process to finish before we can start on the next person. The last thing I have for everybody is our caching. So what happens is for caching, we can go ahead and actually have a few different steps. This is because we can go ahead and put things in cache like we have right here, meaning we can go ahead and take some of this application information, put it in the cache, and then later on down the road, actually go and collect it from the cache. When we collect things from the cache here, we're gonna have to go ahead and give it the name and the type as well as the key too. So we'll actually be able to set that up for our inputs here and recall it whenever we're ready to go ahead and fetch from it. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead and make sure you reach out to us. You can go to sales@decisions.com as well as support@decisions.com. And remember, automate everything.